I did a podcast last week, and in the middle of my podcast, Kristin said she was bringing Calvin to a movie and that I should come. And I ended the podcast and I had to get to the Improv and I couldn't make it. I'm like, babe, I don't want to do that. And I'm upset because I want to be there for Calvin's first movie. And she was like, well, I'm with him out and I never really get time to like kind of like de-stress and unwind. So I'm just going to go see the movie. And I was like, I would really appreciate it if you don't. You can do anything else. I want to be there for my son's first movie. And she was like, well, we're already inside. Anyway, I was like, okay, I don't want to make a thing out of it. But I was upset, swallowed it, and I had to get ready for the show, and then I went to the get my coffee as I do. I do my thing. I fucking get in and I do my I do my routine. I went to the Coffee Bean. I got the coffee. Actually, I think I went to the fucking Starbucks even, but I went to Starbucks and I went to the Improv. And when I went to the Improv, I was, I kind of was thinking about my son watching the movie. I was like, I hope he has a good time, but I was still kind of bummed out. And I got into the green room at the Improv and I hear da-da and Calvin's there. And everything just melts away. I'm not bummed out anymore. I'm not upset. And Kristin's a hero. And he's just da-da, da-da, da-da. And he runs to me, gives me a big hug. And Calvin's in there. And I almost start crying. And I put it on my other YouTube channel, More Chris D'Elia. And it's it's the pre-show with Chris, it's called. And my face, even the side of my face, you can see like how emotional. Dude, everything else fell away. And it was the first now, instead of seeing my son's first movie, it was my first time my son was going to see me on stage, and I was going to be hanging out with him in the green room with my other people who still, look, it's been a fucking weird 2 years for me, to say the least. And the other comedians on the show that still fucking rocking with me and that in the face of fear still support me was such a beautiful thing, man. And that, to think that my career used to be the most important thing and now it's not. My family is the most important thing. And now I'm at this show and my family's there with two of now the most important things. It was just too much for me to even handle, dude. It was just so emotionally amazing. And I was nervous for like the first time in a long time. Besides the first time I came back, I started doing stand-up, I was a little nervous. But dude, I was like, Calvin's not even 2. And I'm nervous for this person to watch me because I want him to fucking like me. I want him to like me. And it wasn't like I want him to think I'm funny. Like he doesn't even know what the fuck I'm saying. As a matter of fact, I went on stage and he was just like, da, 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 da. He was so confused. And Chris was like, shh, shh, shh. He watched me for 30 seconds. Then he was like trying to run around and she was like, be quiet, be quiet. And then just put on something on the phone for him to watch. And I'm like, people pay tickets for this shit. I told him she should just put my specials on. That would have been funny. Because no matter what, if it's on that phone, he'll just zero in on it. But it was such a beautiful thing, man. You can go watch that video on the More Chris D'Elia channel, the pre-show with Chris. And, yeah, it was just fucking really wild, and I love it. And I just loved that moment, man. And I loved that moment. It's just so much. It's so much feeling, It's crazy to be a person, period. Actually. It's so much if you let it be. You know what I'm talking about? Like, that's why I say life rips. It's like, it really is a feeling of what you let it be, right? Like the old me would have walked into that green room. Now I didn't have a son, right? The old me, the unaware sleepwalking through life guy, it wasn't when I had a son, but the old me wouldn't have necessarily stopped and thought about that and taken that in. I wouldn't have allowed it because it was too much feeling, right? I talk about how I don't like music a lot because it's artificially making me feel these emotions. And that's what life was to me. It was, you're not going to make me feel that way. I choose how I feel. But if you're doing that, then how much of the life are you living? Right? Like nobody wants to be around all day and cry at every fucking waking moment. There's a lot of sadness in the world, but there's also a lot of happiness. And you need to feel all of that to be a person. If you're not, then you might as well be in the metaverse and have a jerky fucking fox head. Right? You might as well, because you're not really living. Life is as much feeling as you let it be and as much as you let it take in. Because, man, having my son there in that green room, having my son there knowing that he was watching his dad do his job. For him too, you know? Like, I actually do it. It was the reason why I went back on stage. It's because of him. I checked out. I was in a bad fucking place, man. I did not want to, there were weeks and months at a time where I was like, fuck it, dude. So many people threw me under the bus. Fuck them. I'm not doing stand-up anymore. That's not a community. I'm not in that community. I don't want to be in that community. Fuck that. I don't want to be in that community. You know? The world has a certain opinion of me, or whoever the fuck has an opinion of me, or whoever the fuck it is. You don't know who I am. And there was a long time where I just wanted to give up. And the only thing that made me get back on stage at certain points was my son's going to be 20 one day, or 15, whatever the fuck it is, of a mind to ask me, oh, hey, Dad, you used to be a comedian. And I would have to say, yeah. And he would say, well, why don't you do that anymore? And I'd have to say a version of, I let the world get the best of me, or I let people say and believe that I'm something that I'm not. And I gave up. And when it comes to my son, that's just not an option. So yeah. So that's what that means to me, having him there. And that's what that means to me, having him there with all the people that I love and still love. Whether that be, Brendan Schaub, Theo, Craig Conant, Chappelle Lacey, Eric Griffin, and I'm just naming some of them. But, and my fiance and Calvin, who knows me. I love you, motherfuckers.